While Order 66 was one of the most successful military operations in galactic history, quite a few Jedi did manage to slip through the cracks due to fortuitous circumstances or simply their own combat skill. Most of these survivors were hunted down over the next couple decades, but perhaps they'd have had better luck if they purchased one of the ships in this video. I am Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and these are the best ships for Jedi survivors in Star Wars. G-1A Starfighter. The first ship I would suggest is the Byblos Drive Yard's G-1A Starfighter. Generally speaking, I don't really think starfighters would make a good personal transport for a Jedi on the run from the Empire, or a lot of people for that matter, but the G-1A had enough internal space for a couple passengers or some cargo. It was really more of a micro-gunship than a starfighter, though the line between those categories is very blurry and mostly based on size, so I don't know if that really means anything. The G-1A would be pretty good for just getting around and keeping a relatively low profile, but it would also be useful if you wanted to put your Jedi abilities to use with the Rebellion, as a bounty hunter, or in various other ways. It was fairly well armed, good for both combat you seek out or just for defending yourself against TIE fighters if the Empire catches up to you. It was also quite stylish, which despite their monk-like detachment, the Jedi always seemed to appreciate in their ships. Overall, like I said, it would be one of the best starfighters on the market for a Jedi on the run from the Empire. The G-1A measured 15 meters long by about 7 meters wide and 5.5 meters tall. It had a top speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour and a Class 2 hyperdrive. Different depictions of the ship gave it different weapons, but the average loadout seemed to be something like one dual medium laser cannon turret, 2 fixed medium laser cannons, and a concussion missile launcher. It required 1 pilot and 1 co-pilot, perfect for a Jedi Master and their Padawan. It could also carry 3 passengers, around 1 ton of cargo, and 1/1 of consumables. The ship was priced at 130,000 credits new, and probably cost something like 60,000 used. Fondor Haulcraft. Next up is the Fondor Yard's Commercial Ventures V21.1 Chevlex Light Haulcraft, better known as the Fondor Haulcraft. This was a super light freighter used by various merchants across the galaxy, and had a reputation for being a very humble starship. So much so, in fact, that the idea of a pirate haulcraft was laughable to the crew of at least one Imperial Arrestor cruiser. They were wrong, of course, and promptly got completely styled on by the pilot of the vessel in question, but their point still stands that most haulcraft were completely harmless. Naturally, this would make it a good ship for a Jedi in hiding. The ship was just as capable as many larger light freighters, but without the association many of those ships had with smugglers. Its interior was large enough to kit out with a small lightsaber workshop, training dojo, medical bay, or whatever you need, and a skilled mechanic could install a wide variety of modifications. Jedi would likely get a kick out of the lightsaber-esque laser beam emitters Luthen Rail mounted on his haulcraft, though that was almost certainly a bespoke upgrade he came up with himself, and definitely not something that would come with the ship stock. Rail's upgrades to the ship's reactor, engines, and hyperdrive would probably be more attainable to the average citizen, and I would be willing to bet his extremely handy co-pilot droid in the cockpit was an off-the-shelf purchase. The Fondor Haulcraft measured 25.8 meters long by 21.7 meters wide and 5.5 meters tall. None of the rest of its stats are officially known, but based on similar ships we can guess that it had a top speed of around 850 kilometers per hour and a Class 2 or 3 hyperdrive. It might not have actually had one at all, based on how Cassian Andor reacts to Luthen's haulcraft jumping to hyperspace, but I've always interpreted that as him being shocked by its speed rather than the jump. The ship was likely unarmed by default, though I suppose it could have come with a simple double laser cannon or something like a lot of light freighters do. It required 1 crew, and could carry 1 to 5 passengers. Its internal cargo hold could probably house 50 tons of cargo, and its wings could also carry external crates, perhaps adding another 25 tons. I would guess the Haulcraft cost 90,000 credits new, or 20,000 used. Lancer-class Pursuit Craft. Our next ship is the Mandel Motors Lancer-class Pursuit Craft. This was a fast, rugged patrol ship produced by Mandel Motors for the Black Sun Crime Syndicate. It was most commonly seen in the hands of bounty hunters and Black Sun pirates, but was also used by planetary defense forces, civilian shipping companies, and other unobjectionable organizations. For a survivor of Order 66, it would make for a reliable transport with plenty of room inside for Jedi activities, and the ability to outrun or destroy any light Imperial forces that may threaten to capture you. In addition to its own benefits, the other reason I like the idea of a Lancer for a Jedi survivor is actually the ship's out-of-universe connection to the Jedi. The Lancer is based on a ship called the Banshee that was designed for an unfinished episode of the Clone Wars, which in turn was based on a piece of concept art for the LAAT. So while it would not be a good idea for a Jedi to use a ship that has a connection to the Jedi Order or the Republic at large in-universe, the Lancer would be a safe choice in-universe, and a fun behind-the-scenes Easter egg out-of-universe. The Lancer class measured about 30 meters long and wide by 7 meters tall. It had a Class 2 hyperdrive and a top atmospheric speed of 1,050 kilometers per hour. The ship was very well armed due to its Mandalorian roots and criminal connections, with a triple light laser cannon turret, a forward twin light laser cannon, and a ventral tractor beam projector. It was designed for 2 pilots, but could be flown by just 1, and could carry 4 passengers, 3 months of consumables, and likely a small amount of cargo as well. Finally, the ship came in at a cost of 120,000 credits. YT-1250. Another one of the best ships for Jedi in hiding is the Corellian Engineering Corporation YT-1250 Light Freighter. There isn't really anything about the YT-1250 that really screams Jedi ship to me, which I guess is actually good if you really think about it. But this is one of those instances where basically any light freighter will do, so the one I have selected to represent that type of ship is the YT-1250. The nice thing about this ship is that so many of the YT series ships are all kind of the same. The 1250 is one of the better looking ones, but they all share so many components and visual elements that the average citizen probably can't tell them apart. This way, anyone looking to report you to the Empire if they find out you're a Jedi will have a much harder time identifying your ship. You may think that the distinctive sensor boom and central cargo handling arm would make it easy to identify, but the YT-1250 was nearly identical to the YT-1200 and 1210, so even someone familiar with the YT series product line would have a hard time seeing which ship you had at a glance. To further obfuscate matters, CEC also licensed out the YT-1200 design to Nova Drive, who converted it to the also very similar 3Z light freighter. And like I said, the average citizen isn't going to be able to tell any YT series ship apart, let alone 4 nearly identical models. It would be like if I asked you to tell me the make and model of a UPS box truck or stepside van. I guarantee you can't unless you work there or are interested in shipping logistics. In addition to being hard to distinguish, the YT-1250 had a fairly sizable interior you could put to use for Jedi purposes, like all light freighters. Whether you want to preserve a little slice of the Jedi Order and maintain your own temple inside, or maintain a low profile instead and just turn it into a modest home, the 1250 should have ample room. The ship also had excellent sensors for navigating areas with poor visibility, which you could instead repurpose to keep an eye out for incoming Imperial ships. Finally, unlike some other models of light freighter, like the YT-1300 or 2400, the 1250 was not known to be famous for its use by smugglers, meaning it would be less likely to be scrutinized too closely by Imperial customs officials that you might encounter. Overall, it was a very solid light freighter, and one of the best on the market for a Jedi in exile. The YT-1250 measured 32.25 meters long by about 23 meters wide and 6 meters tall. It had a Class 2 hyperdrive and a top speed of 800 kilometers per hour. It was armed with one double laser cannon. Officially, the ship required 2 crew, but like all YT series freighters, this was more of a recommendation, and it could be flown by just one with ease. The ship could also carry 5 passengers, 80 tons of cargo, and 3 months of consumables. The ship was a little expensive at 120,000 credits new, but its used price of 30,000 credits would be an exceptional deal. Tailander shuttle. And finally, one of the best ships for Order 66 survivors in Star Wars is the Gallifrey Yard's Tailander shuttle. Like the YT-1250, this was a fairly sizable craft, perfect for making into whatever facilities you need for what you're up to while hiding from the Empire. You could run basically any business out of one, use it for smuggling or bounty hunting, or just make it into a house to live in comfortably. The version of the Tailander seen in Star Wars Rebels was a fairly large passenger liner, but the original version from Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars was just a fairly standard shuttle, perfect for living in. And these shuttles could be seen pretty much all across the galaxy from Tatooine to Coruscant, so you could find one for sale with ease and blend in without drawing too much attention. They were neither too nice nor too utilitarian to fit in no matter where you happened to be or where you were going. The ship's original true and correct size of about 40 meters long is on the upper end of what I would consider appropriate for a single Jedi or a Master and a Padawan, but it should be fine and give each of you, plus anyone else you may pick up along the way, plenty of space to yourselves. The larger 60-ish meter one seen in Rebels would probably need a bigger crew, but I kind of consider that size to be a production mistake. In fairness, the Gozanti cruiser was upscaled from 40 to 60 meters too, but that happened right away in the Clone Wars cartoon and actually makes sense with its design. The cockpit window would be super tiny at 40 meters. But the Tailander's size was fairly consistent throughout the Clone Wars and only got bigger in Star Wars Rebels, a show rife with unusual design choices. However, on the other hand, there was also a much smaller model of the Tailander shuttle introduced later in The Mandalorian, known as the Tailander XCE shuttle. Basically nothing is known of this ship beyond its name, but it appeared to be somewhere in the 20 to 30 meter range. And if the XCE can be way smaller than the original, then perhaps the larger Rebels model can be a different in-universe variant too. Maybe we'll call it the Tailander XL if I ever make a full breakdown on the Tailander shuttle. All of that is to say, the Tailander shuttle came in 2 or 3 sizes, and the one I would recommend for a Jedi on the run is the middle one. It would make a stylish yet inconspicuous transport or home perfect for a Jedi on the run. The original middle-sized Tailander shuttle measured 43.5 meters long by about 19 meters wide and 11 meters tall. It had a top speed of 950 kilometers per hour and a Class 2 hyperdrive. It could be piloted by just one pilot, though I expect it was meant to be crewed by 2 to 3. It could probably also carry 20 to 30 passengers, 20 to 50 tons of cargo, and 3 months of consumables. Its price was probably around 95,000 credits new, or 40,000 used. And those are 5 of the best ships for Jedi on the run from the Empire. Let me know which of these you would choose, or what else you would go for in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. RFC out.